You felt it. That inexplicable weight that settles in before you even open your eyes. You wake up, and though your life looks functional on paper, there is a detectable rot in the atmosphere of your home. It's a sense of impending collapse, not because the world is closing in, but because the structure is failing from within. We are often taught that sins are merely bad deeds, paperwork to be dealt with somewhere down the road. But that is a dangerous simplification. What if I told you some actions are not just moral failures, but spiritual black holes? Certain choices don't just sit on a page, they actively consume your peace, your family's stability, and the very light of your future until there is nothing left to salvage. Scholars didn't just categorize these as sins, they identified them as al-muhlikat, the destroyers. In the authentic collections of Bukhari and Muslim, a chilling warning was issued. It wasn't a lecture, it was a tactical briefing. The Prophet, peace be upon him, turned to his companions and issued a command that should make your blood run cold. Avoid the 7 great destructive sins. They didn't ask for a definition of morality. They asked, what are they? Because they knew that to encounter these 7 was to encounter a force that could erase a lifetime of prayer in a single moment. This is knowledge rarely highlighted in the modern world, where we are told everything is relative. These 7 are not relative. They are absolute. Today, we decode the 7 destroyers. These are the structural cracks in the human soul. If you find your life falling apart, financially, emotionally, or spiritually, it is likely because one of these 7 has taken root in your soil. We will look at why these specific 7 were chosen to be labeled the destroyers, and how identifying them is the only way to save your home from the blast radius they create. The first destroyer is the most subtle, yet the most lethal. We define shirk as associating partners with Allah, placing something alongside the divine. But in the reality of your daily life, shirk is the shifting of your ultimate center. It is the catastrophic belief that a person, a career, or a system holds a power over your destiny that belongs only to the Creator. The Quran is uncompromising. Indeed, Allah does not forgive association with Him, but He forgives what is less than that for whom He wills. Think of it as the ultimate severing of the lifeline. While other sins are like wounds that can heal, shirk is like unplugging the soul's only power source. If that connection isn't restored before the heart stops beating, there is no backup system. The darkness becomes permanent. This betrayal of the soul shows up in the smallest mechanics of our lives. We take medicine for an illness, but we often commit a silent shirk by believing the chemical is the cure, forgetting that the molecule is merely a soldier carrying out a divine order. Or consider the shirk of the ego showing off. If your prayer in a crowded mosque is full of focus, but your prayer alone in your room is rushed and hollow, who were you actually worshipping? If you were truly free, your conversation with the king would be just as intense in total silence as it is under the gaze of 1,000 people. Think of the man who makes a CEO his center, or the woman who anchors her entire worth to a single relationship. When that boss fires him, or that person leaves her, their entire universe vanishes. They didn't just lose a job or a partner, they lost their God. But when you eradicate shirk, you become spiritually untouchable. If Allah is your only center, the world loses its power to break you because you cannot be shaken by the loss of things you never worshipped in the first place. But what happens when this quest for power takes a darker turn? When people try to seize control of the unseen through the forbidden arts? The second destroyer is black magic. In our modern culture, we've sanitized this. We've turned it into a fantasy trope of wands and card tricks. Do not be deceived. This has nothing to do with entertainment. We are talking about the ultimate spiritual crime, the attempt to bypass the divine will by hiring contractors of the unseen. In the dark underbelly of our communities, this is a predator's game. It is the seer described in Surah Al-Baqarah, a trial that leads directly to the death of faith. This isn't just spells. It is a horrific transaction. To gain an edge over a rival, people go to sorcerers who communicate with the jinn through acts of pure desecration. They involve the shedding of blood, the use of filth, and the unthinkable, writing the words of the Quran in urine or backwards to prove their loyalty to the shadows. This is most commonly seen in the wreckage of broken marriages, long-standing inheritance wars, and toxic feuds with in-laws. Someone feels cheated or jealous, and instead of seeking Allah, they seek a quick fix in the occult. They think they are being clever by binding a husband or cursing a sibling. In reality, they are inviting a spiritual parasite into their home. You cannot hire a demon to do your bidding without it eventually consuming your own sanity, your children's peace, and your very soul. It is a trade where you gain a temporary worldly manipulation, but lose everything in the transaction. When you walk away from the occult and burn those bridges, you restore your psychological safety. You no longer jump at every shadow or fear every evil eye, because you have traded the frantic anxiety of the dark for the absolute protection of the light. But if black magic destroys the mind, the third destroyer destroys the very vessel of the soul. Human life is the most sacred technology on earth, a masterpiece of divine engineering. To end a life unjustly is not just a crime against a person. It is a declaration of war against the Creator, who breathed life into them. The Quran is absolute. Whoever kills a soul, it is as if he had slain mankind entirely. In our modern streets, we see this in the surge of knife crimes, where a moment of heated ego or a look results in a blade ending a story that was only just beginning. On a global scale, we see it in the cold rooms of power, where a single signature initiates illegal wars, slaughtering millions for the sake of geography or greed. Whether it is a blade in an alleyway or a drone in the sky, the spiritual physics remain the same. You aren't just killing a body, you are incinerating the generations that were supposed to come from it. You are creating a void in the fabric of existence that was never intended to be there. This includes those who justify violence in the name of honor or revenge. They claim to be defending their name, but they are actually inviting a curse into their lineage. When you respect the sanctity of life, you aren't just being peaceful. You are building a society where a mother can send her son out without a knot in her stomach, and where you can sleep without a weapon under your pillow. But there is a way to kill a person's future without ever touching their body. Usury. Interest. We call it banking today, but the Prophet, peace be upon him, saw it for what it is. A predator eating the flesh of the desperate. Riba is wealth that grows from nothing, while the borrower sinks into everything. Allah has permitted trade and has forbidden interest. Look at the debt cycles of the modern world. Families working 3 jobs just to pay the interest on a loan, never touching the principal. It is an invisible shackle that ensures the poor stay poor and the rich stay rich. It destroys the divine blessing in money. It's not just people. Some countries have huge debts that they can never pay back because of the interest. Riba is the root of the financial problems we have. Inflation, increasing cost of living, stagnant wages. You can barely afford to pay for your house, all because of the interest system. Breaking free from riba brings a coolness to your wealth. Your $10 feels like 100 because it isn't stained with the tears of the exploited. If riba exploits the weak, the 5th destroyer targets the defenseless. The 5th destroyer is the crime of an ignoble person. An orphan is defined by their lack of a shield. They have no father to stand in the way of a predatory uncle or a calculating lawyer. To steal from them isn't just a financial crime. It is the ultimate betrayal of the defenseless. These children are often completely unaware of the numbers on a screen or the titles to a property. They are trusting the very people who are meant to be their sanctuary. The Quran portrays the crime that should make your skin crawl. Indeed, those who devour the property of orphans unjustly are only consuming into their bellies fire. We see this in the relative who steps in to manage a deceased brother's estate, only to systematically reassign assets to their own name. Or they skim a little off the top for a new car, leaving the children with a hollowed-out future while they live in a house built on theft. They think they are enjoying a life of luxury, but the divine perspective reveals a different reality. Every bite of food bought with that money is a swallowing of hot coals. They are filling their homes with a fire that will eventually ignite from within. When you protect the vulnerable, you aren't just being charitable. You are creating a world where, when you are gone, your own children will be safe from the wolves. You are investing in a social insurance that no bank can offer. But what happens when the threat isn't a single person, but the collapse of an entire community's courage? This isn't just about ancient wars. It is about the moment of truth. When your community, your family, or your faith is under existential threat, and you turn your back to save your own skin, you leave everyone else to die. The Quran warns of a painful punishment for those who turn their backs when the struggle is at its peak. In a modern sense, it's the person who abandons their principles the moment things get difficult. It's the leader who leaves his people to suffer while he escapes with the treasury. It is the death of collective survival. Standing your ground, even when terrified, creates a soul of iron. You become the person others can lean on. But there is one final destroyer. It doesn't use a sword or a contract. It uses a single word. The seventh destroyer is a silent killer, the accusation. In the eyes of the divine, a person's reputation is as sacred as their blood. To falsely accuse a virtuous person of indecency, to whisper about their character without absolute proof, is to commit a social murder. You aren't just saying words, you are erasing their place in the community. The Quran issues a terrifying warning. Indeed, those who falsely accuse chaste, unaware and believing women are cursed in this world and the hereafter. Consider the mechanics of a rumor. A casual, unverified comment about a sister's character can travel across the globe in seconds. On social media, we forward messages without a second thought. But that one message can plant a seed of permanent doubt in a husband's mind, trigger the violent breakdown of a marriage, and leave children growing up in the wreckage of a home destroyed by a lie. In the digital age, we share fake news, forgetting that once a woman's reputation is stained, it can almost never be fully scrubbed clean. You might forget the comment in 5 minutes, but you have altered her family's trajectory forever. Mastering your tongue is the ultimate form of structural integrity for your own life. If you protect the honor of the unaware, Allah becomes the protector of your own. Look at these 7 again. Shirk and magic destroy your connection to truth. Murder and slander destroy your safety and your honor. Riba and orphan theft destroy the economy of the weak. Fleeing the battle destroys the strength of the whole. These are called the destroyers because they have a blast radius. They don't just hurt the sinner, they ruin the lives of everyone in their orbit. They turn a society of humans into a jungle of predators. If your life feels like it is crumbling, ask yourself, is one of these 7 present in my foundation? The Prophet, peace be upon him, told us to avoid them. Not just don't do them, but stay away from the very ground they walk on. Because once a structure starts to fall, it doesn't matter how beautiful the curtains were. Audit your soul before the collapse becomes permanent.